In Myanmar, the death toll from Cyclone Najis has risen to over 23,000. More than 37,000 people are still missing, and almost 1,500 were injured in the storm. In 5 West Heat divisions and states in the Irrawaddy Delta, Yangon, Bago, Ayeyarwady, Kanyin and Mong, debris and rubbish and branches from downed trees litter the streets. Empty skeletal buildings are the only sign of large structures that once lined these roads. Some of the surrounding villages were obliterated, and many people are facing great hardship as shelter is almost non-existent. It has also been difficult for aid workers to gain access to help those in desperate need. China is calling on the international community to work actively to provide aid for cyclone-ravaged Myanmar. Liu Zhenmin, China's deputy permanent representative to the United Nations, made the call at the launch of an aid appeal in New York. Liu says international agencies and donor countries should negotiate to resolve any issues which come up during relief efforts. He also expressed hope that Myanmar's government will strengthen dialogue with donors and provide support to ensure speedy delivery of relief materials. The Chinese government has donated $500,000 in cash and the same amount of emergency assistance. It has also provided an additional $4.3 million for reconstruction. The first 2 batches of disaster relief materials from China have already arrived in Yangon. As relief and rehabilitation work continues in a disaster-stricken Myanmar, the United Nations has launched a flash appeal for $187 million to aid the victims of Cyclone Najis. UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon urged Myanmar to accept both the aid and humanitarian workers. Gui Xiaozeng has more.
Ban Ki-moon said he has so far not been able to talk directly to Myanmar authorities, but he says the country should remove restrictions on aid workers because they would not engage in any political debate.
Now we are discussing with the Myanmar authorities how to distribute these WFP food items, relief items.
The UN's urgent appeal would enable 10 UN organizations and 9 non-governmental organizations to support the government of Myanmar in addressing the needs of more than 1.5 million people affected by the cyclone. The funding covers 12 sectors, with the largest proportion assigned for food, water and sanitation, logistics, health and shelter. The planned duration of the appeal is 6 months, and it would be regularly updated to reflect new needs as the situation evolves. Myanmar's UN ambassador praised the assistance his country had received from the world body.
We are most thankful to the international community, our friends near and far, for their solidarity and generosity. And here I'd like to go on record and say that we'll accept aid from any quarter.
Meanwhile, as food and equipment from several Asian countries and the World Food Programme have landed in Myanmar's disaster-hit regions in the past few days, governments around the world have asked Myanmar authorities to open the country's borders to desperately needed assistance. A team of Red Cross disaster relief experts in Germany has prepared a water purification unit to take to Myanmar next week.
As the Red Cross, we have practically no bureaucratic hurdles to overcome because we are going there at the invitation of the local Red Cross, so we normally don't encounter any problems entering a country.
If the equipment manages to arrive in Myanmar, it could produce 15 liters of fresh drinking water per day per person for 15,000 people, which would also allow for washing laundry and basic hygiene needs. Gui Xiaozeng, CCTV.
Hezbollah gunmen have seized nearly all of West Beirut on the 3rd day of a violent campaign against supporters of the pro-Western government. The governing coalition have described the seizure as an armed and bloody coup. Zhang Rui has more.
At least 14 people have been killed and more than 20 wounded in 3 days of street battles in West Beirut between Hezbollah fighters and gunmen loyal to the government. 3 more people were killed in 2 separate incidents on Friday after the Hezbollah takeover. The satellite TV station affiliated with the party of Lebanon's top Sunni lawmaker Saad al-Hariri was forced off the air. Gunmen set fire to the offices of the party's newspaper Al-Mustaqbal in the coastal neighborhood of Ramlet al-Baida. Later in the afternoon, gunmen also attacked and set on fire a two-story building where Hariri's Future TV have their archives. The unrest virtually shut down Lebanon's international airport and closed many major highways. The seaport also was closed, leaving one land route to Syria as Lebanon's only link to the outside world. Hariri and the Jewish leader Walid Jumblat were besieged in their West Beirut residences. Prime Minister Fouad Sanura and several ministers were holed up in his downtown office, surrounded by troops and the police. Pro-government majority officials held an emergency meeting in a mountain town in the Christian heartland northeast of Beirut. Afterwards, they issued a statement calling on the army to take control of the streets and urging Arab and international intervention to pressure the countries that support Hezbollah. Pro-government leader Samia Ghia said the Hezbollah takeover violates the constitution, which governs Christian-Muslim coexistence in Lebanon.
The forces of the March 14th alliance appeal to all Arab countries to bear their responsibilities towards Lebanon.
Arab foreign ministers have called an emergency meeting for Sunday in Cairo to discuss the crisis. The fighting was triggered after the government took decisions targeting Hezbollah's military communications network. The group said the government had declared war. Zhang Rui, CCTV.
A Lebanese government minister has accused Hezbollah of stirring up strife between Sunnis and Shiites across the country. Hezbollah's latest anti-government campaign has led to the militant group gaining control of West Beirut. The minister also says the government will not consider resigning under the mounting pressure unless it is part of a deal to resolve the crisis.
A resignation based on what? The government resignation means a total vacuum where there will be no president and no chance of naming a new premier at a very intense time. If there was a comprehensive solution, then we would not reject the idea of resignation, but to resign just for the sake of it, it is meaningless and will make matters worse.
U.S. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice says the United States will continue supporting Lebanon's government in its battle against Hezbollah. In her statement read by a spokesman at a State Department briefing, Rice accused Hezbollah of seeking to protect its state within a state.
The United States is deeply concerned about the ongoing violence in Lebanon. We condemn the use of force by illegitimate armed groups and call upon all parties to respect the rule of law. Our support for the legitimate Lebanese government, its democratic institutions, and its security services is unwavering. We will stand by the Lebanese government and peaceful citizens of Lebanon through this crisis and provide the support they need to weather this storm.
A series of Israeli airstrikes have killed 5 Hamas security men in the Gaza Strip. The attacks came after a motor attack from the Hamas-controlled Gaza Strip killed an Israeli civilian on Friday. Hamas militants have claimed responsibility for the attack on the Kafar Aza collective farm in southern Israel. An Israeli army spokeswoman says the airstrikes were in response to continued cross-border attacks. Meanwhile, Hamas leader Khalid Mashal says he will give Israel a chance to accept a Palestinian state based on the 1967 borders, including Jerusalem. Mashal added that if Israel refuses this proposal, Arab states should put pressure on Israel. A bomb attack in Sri Lanka's eastern province has killed 11 people. The blast occurred on the eve of the first local elections in the region for 2 decades. The Sri Lankan military says the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam are responsible for Friday's attack in a cafe in the town of Ampara. At least 29 people have reportedly been wounded in the blast. The attack was carried out despite a heavy police and military presence to secure the polls. The vote is seen as a key step in restoring democracy to the eastern province after 13 years of rebel rule.